Oh, okay. Getting less technical. That's good. So GIS professionals are already applying this geographic approach to what they're doing, be it in developing renewable energies, building resilient communities, smart cities. I'm glad with the Konza case study. Interesting. I'm one of the people who thought that maybe they're not doing anything. Today I've learned that they've actually been working behind the scenes. So pardon me for that. Improving public transit, responding to epidemics,
of course, including even how we are dealing with COVID now, COVID-19, and many other things that we are busy doing and working on. We're already doing this. And so, okay, good. And so when you think about the technologies that people are using in doing this, it's actually as it's developing rapidly, advancing at a very high rate, but at the same time, it's also integrating and leveraging many innovations that we are seeing now. You've heard people talking about serious things, the big data, the IoTs, the GeoAI, machine learning, and many other things, cloud computing. These are big things that we are talking about, but also bringing them together in how we do our things, making it easier, faster, more efficient in everything that we do. And so they all help us to scale up our collective efforts in putting the world a better place for us to be in. And so I know that several of us, as I've mentioned, are doing a lot of things, using the geospatial infrastructure in sharing our data, developing apps, and also geographic knowledge. At the end of the day, they look at GIS as that nervous system, geo-nervous system that is helping them to understand and also collaborate as they do their work. I have a few case studies that I wanted to mention, few case studies of different works that you guys are doing, not necessarily locally here, but across the globe. People are doing great things, master plan developments, part of what you guys do, land use inventories, housing plan coordinations, urban designs, and many others. On the other hand, we've actually gone beyond just looking at it large scale, but to specific regions, specific sites, and even to specific buildings, and doing things like maintenance, facility maintenance, workplace planning, other projects like campus walking directions, and many other things. These are great examples of what you guys are doing. I thought of also talking about transportation planning and management, which when you look at several things that we are doing, right from real-time traffic monitoring, traffic collision analysis, managing your maritime shipping, and many other things. Drone delivery optimization, talking about drone, revisit. So these are some of great examples that we are doing. Unfortunately, I don't have an example for Kenya or the region, but I'll do so. And we are glad that these are happening. And so Smart GIS integrates everything, just as I've shown you, connecting people, processes, things, and even data about them. This gives us what we are calling a system of systems. System of record on one end, where you have your data well managed. System of engagement, where all of us come together to look at that piece of space, that where we are working on all together, looking at it the same way. When a planner looks at it, a surveyor looks at it, a developer in the systems, system of engagement, where all of us did, and environmentalists look at of the whole system that we're having, dealing with 3D data. We have an Arcgis Pro tool that actually does a lot of advanced mapping, visualization, editing, and analysis that you could also use in some of this work. At the same time, talking about drone, as I mentioned, it's actually coming in as a very great tool and innovation that now we work with. And you realize how cheap and fast and more efficient it could be. And I believe some of planners and surveyors are already trying or already using this. And so you think about how to process this data and use them for your decision making. 3D visualization and analysis, be it you are doing BIM integration. This is very interesting for the guys in the BIM world. Doing your 3D web editings and many other interactive analysis. Not limited to that, but as I was mentioning about BIM, GIS, and BIM integration, we now have what we're calling Arcgis BIM, GeoBIM, which is actually bringing both worlds together. The world of BIM, that is the content, and the world of GIS, the context, all brought together in doing the work of all the, because many times you think about the building or the infrastructure as a thing, let me call it that way, and the where it is to be and everything else about that where. So it's not only about that building, but everything else also around it. And 3D capabilities actually goes beyond just the desktop, but also to the web and also to the mobile. And these really very important capabilities that you want to think about. You want to have that one common picture that the designer, that engineer in the computer room, let me call it that way, doing, and the decision maker in the field with his or her tablet or smartphone. You all must be seeing and operating on the same environment. And think about the facility management, operation, space management of our infrastructure using the indoors also. And you do not want to think about the indoors only in terms of planning, but also planning here cuts across everything else, including even emergency evacuations and even deliveries and many other things. A very great tool that could also interest you here is what we're calling Arcgis Urban, which actually gives you that 3D scenario for planning your cities and regions. Be it you're talking about your building designs, interactive sharing of your information, and many others. Right from collecting your data, suitability analysis, scenario designs, evaluating your models or evaluation, and finally, when you have your plans. And so this supports your current planning, long-range planning, and even the urban design. For regional landscape, you also think about the Arcgis Duo Planner, which actually does your stability modeling, scenario sketching, and even evaluation. All these are tools that we think and are developed actually to help you as you geo-collaborate to think about developing this, our smarter, sustainable world. Of course, our world is being challenged on many fronts, and we really need to be collectively responsible for its future. As I mentioned, we believe that the geographic approach and geospatial infrastructure provides us with the science and practical means to actually act effectively. And we have to do it, all of us together. And so to create this sustainable future, you and your work is really very important. You're not excluded. We have to problem solve together. We have to bring our solutions. We have to collaborate. We have to bring that geographic thinking, of course, holistic thinking. And then we also have to apply the latest tools that we have and methods in doing this and exchange ideas. We have actually to do this, and we have to do it now. I believe that we have what it takes. We are smart people. And we just need to do it. And we have to do it now. Thank you.
Wow. Let us clap for CEO Esri. Tumpe ile ya Moi na tutampea mara 4 tu. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hiyo hatutafunga na kufungua, tutawachia hapo. Thank you so much, Clifford. Now I will introduce a girl I call Evelyn Lele. Lele is a girl I've mentored, and we are almost having the same, how would I call it? She has an undergraduate in urban and regional planning from University of Nairobi. She was my student. That is when we started doing this introduction to GIS. And I'm so glad that this same GIS has made her what she is today. And after she realized that I also did an MSc in GIS, she thought the mentorship should not stop and went and did her MSc in GIS at University of Nairobi. And the other day we were just talking about her registering for a PhD. So she is, I don't know if she'll still do PhD at UN because that is where I'm doing mine, or she will change her mind, but we will know about that. So Evelyn Lele is a solutions engineer at Esri Eastern Africa, and she will now give us the most interesting, just to take up from where her CEO stopped. Evelyn, kindly, she's a lady in red, but a girl of few words, but with much technology. Karibu.
Thank you so much, Mildred, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. My name is Evelyn Lilly, as introduced, and I'm just going to take over from where our CEO left. And I'm feeling that this is a very difficult task. It's usually very difficult speaking after your bosses, and especially when they're seated right in front of you. So I'm just going to gather the courage. But so my role is actually to just take us to the practical bit of it, where we'll be talking about geoinformation systems role in planning. And I'm just going to take it over from where he left. And my bit will be more on the practical aspect, just showing some of the capabilities that he's already talked about. So the last time when we met in Diani in 2019, we talked about unoccupied mansions. And one of the unoccupied mansions was actually the GIS mansion, isn't it? Isn't it? For those of us who can remember. And I hope that we're actually taking up spaces in that unoccupied mansion already. So as already mentioned, we have a number of challenges and issues within our cities and towns. And as planners, this is really our core business, ensuring that we are helping in solving some of these challenges that we have in our cities. And talk about issues of informality, issues of urbanization, etc. So there are really a number of issues in our towns and our cities. And what we are really talking about today is the role that geoinformation technology has to play in helping us address some of these issues in our cities as planners. And just a bit of an introduction to geoinformation systems, as already mentioned. So ideally, what we're talking about here is a decision support system, a system that is able to help us capture this information, the planning data or the planning information, derive insights from that information, present that information, and ultimately make informed decisions. Because at the end of the day, we're all talking about making informed decisions. So ideally what you're talking about is a decision support system. And that's what geoinformation system actually is. And so what I just want us to get as planners is that geoinformation, or if you like, GIS system, is actually meant to help us digitalize the planning process. And currently, I think when Dr. was making her presentation yesterday from JQuat, she actually mentioned that the main challenge that we are having is actually interoperability. We're just working in silos. And I'm glad to point out today that with the integrations that we are having in terms of technology, and recently the BIM and GIS integration, we definitely have a lot. And we have the integration in terms of context, providing the context, as well as providing the content. And that's what geoinformation is actually going to give us as planners. And well, when you also talk about geoinformation systems, of course, as planners, we have various things we're looking at, but what geoinformation system provides us one is a system of record. We're talking about preparing plans. Do we have databases for these plans, for example? So when you talk about a system of record, we're talking about a database. So for instance, for the 4 counties that have their spatial plans already approved, can we actually get data? Do these plans actually have a database that can be accessed, data that can be queried, data that can be updated over time? So we're talking about a system of record. Then again, we plan with and for the people. So we're talking about a system of engagement. Of course, we cannot plan without the people in the area that we are planning for. So a system of engagement, the need to actually get information about what these people in our planning areas actually need. And then a system of insight, as already mentioned. Of course, we're looking at deriving more meaningful information from the data for effective decision making. And that's why we're calling it a system of systems. And of course, in terms of the framework, we have a number of things, and actually this falls quite well within the planning process, right from getting this data, integrating the data, visualizing the data, analyzing the data, planning, design, ultimately decision-making and action being taken. Then, of course, again, as already mentioned, in terms of the solutions, there's a number of solution products that we have as Esri for planners. We have Arcgis Urban, we have Duo Planner, we have City Engine, and I'll just be taking you through the demonstration of each of these. Of course, for any planning exercise, there has to be data, and we need to be preparing data-centered plans. And so also geoinformation gives you the ability to actually collect data. And as Esri, we have a number of applications that you can actually use to collect that data. For instance, for the kind of surveys or household questionnaires that we have, we need to actually move from the manual way of doing it to actually a more digital way. And we have one of the solutions, that's Survey 123, which enables you to actually collect that information. So it's actually a form-centric data collection application. And the beauty with this also is that it actually allows you to convey that information in real time. So as your crews are in the field or your data collectors are in the field, that information can actually be received in real time. Then the other thing that, of course, I need to point out is Imagery as a data source for planning. Of course, when we are planning, especially when you're looking at changes that have taken place over time, there's need to actually look at what was there before and what's actually changed over time. And definitely Imagery comes in so handy. And with geoinformation also, we have a number of capabilities, right from capturing the images, we have image processing capabilities, and then image analysis and interpretation. And of course, also within the Arcgis platform, we have all these capabilities. Then the other thing that I really need to mention is matters resource inventory. Before any planning exercise, we actually do situational analysis just to understand what exactly is existing in our area, in our planning area. And from the situational analysis now, we'll be able to understand. We actually do more of a SWOT analysis, identifying the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And now what geoinformation system allows you to have is the spatial as well as the attribute information of your particular resources. And of course, we have different types of resources. So when I talk about the attributes, these are just descriptions about your resources. So that's one area that is really key. Then the other bit is suitability. Of course, when we are planning, we have multiple scenarios that we can actually have, but how do we get to a point where we are actually identifying the most ideal, the most suitable location for a particular development? So that really comes in handy. And with geoinformation systems, of course, you can actually be able to do multi-criteria analysis, where you're looking at the different standards, where you're looking at the different the different planning standards to just determine the most suitable areas for various developments. And then we also have 3D simulation and modeling. People relate more with what they can see, what they can what they can see in 3D. So there's need to actually convert. I know we're already doing that. Convert some of the works we are doing, if it's the 2D plans to 3D, and even the communities in terms of community participation, people will actually relate more with 3D models, and so on and so forth. And so for this, we specifically have one of the solutions, that's Arcgis Urban, which is a 3D experience that streamlines urban planning. And as part of our CPD the last time, we actually looked at these in depth, so I'm just gonna give a highlight. So in terms of looking at land use and zoning ordinances, designing and measuring various scenarios, reviewing development applications, as well as enhancing better collaboration among the professionals, that's the planners and the communities and the people we are actually planning for. Then of course, with geoinformation, you can also work across different scales, right from the regional scale to the very small scale, if it's a site, neighborhood, etc. So that's what you can actually be able to do across the different scales. And of course, this just gives a summary of the various things that you can actually do with geoinformation in terms of planning. I'll not take a lot of time over here. So what I'm going to do is just take us through some of the capabilities that I've already mentioned, and just basically demonstrate some of the capabilities that we have and some of the things you can actually be able to do with geoinformation systems, or if you like, GIS as planners. So just give me a minute to share my screen. All right. So part of what I'd want us to get out of this meeting is the ability to actually collaboratively work together. And one of the main solutions that we actually have is what we are calling integrated resource and revenue management system. And so what you're seeing on my screen is actually a portal which enhances collaboration across organizations and across organizations. And so you can actually have the various departments down here. Like we have the departments of lands, housing, physical planning. We have the Department of Trade, Tourism. We have the Department of Health, etc. So what this gives you is the ability to actually one on board. So for instance, if we're talking about a spatial plan, within this particular portal, you have thematic data sets for the different departments within. And we have a number of modules. So the first one is actually just getting to do the natural resource inventory. So here you can actually capture all the details about the a particular jurisdiction. You can be able to access this information. You can be able to query this information. You can be able to, a platform also is that it's actually an interactive platform. So you can actually be able to just click on any of the resources on the map and you're able to see the attribute information on that particular area. Then of course, part of the land information management system that allows you to get information about the land information within a particular area, say a county government. You can do basic land searches and query information within that particular area. You can also use this as a basis for revenue generation and actually getting to understand what you're getting from the different streams in terms of revenue. So this is also highly interactive. Then I know there are counties that have already done their approval process, and they're actually digital planning development approval processes. So with geoinformation also, or GIS if you like, you can have this as part of the solution for your planning workflows. So what you have here is a sample application for development permission that captures the various details. And the beauty with this is that you'll have already captured the land information within your application. And so you can just fill in the details here. Assuming Mildred is seeking for development permission. Then you can put in your contact details. And then the others will be automatically filled. Then you can attach your application details if it's a drawing, etc. Then have that submitted. So at the back end, the county government or whichever agency that is in charge of approvals can actually be able to monitor these in a dashboard. So they can actually be able to see the total applications that have been received, their approval status, whether they are approved, deferred, or rejected, and the terms for that, the types of applications, whether they are building developments, change of user, subdivision, amalgamations, etc. So that's one way of just ensuring that we are digitalizing even the development control process. Then we also have the revenue aspect. Part of what county governments in Kenya are actually supposed to do are improve on their own source revenue. And we have this module here that captures the bit on revenue. And again, this is fed from the land information management module, where you're able to see in terms of rates what's payable. And then they're color coded differently to show the rates that are due for the different land parcels. So we actually have a number of them. We also have something on project management, just ensuring that if you having various projects, you're actually accountable to the different donors and the different agencies that are doing projects within your jurisdiction. You can be able to see the amount of money that has been spent, the status of the project, the categories of the projects, and you can actually do queries. So for instance, this is Nakuru County, and I just want to see maybe within Nakuru East, for example, how many projects do we have? Yes, so you can actually be able to see that we have 2 projects, and they're mainly roads and market projects. You can see the total amount that has been spent, and you can see the project status for those particular projects. So we actually have a number of them. This is also the education module. So in the interest of time, I just want to show us maybe 2 more, the 3D aspect. So with geoinformation also, you can be able to convert or transform your 2D plans to 3D plans and actually have 3D simulations of your developments. So I'm just going to show a sample model of what you can be able to do. So this is a sample model. So if you have a plan for a particular area and you actually need to simulate how the development will look like, you can actually have a 3D simulation of your development area with geoinformation. So that's one aspect that just shows the 3D bit. Then you can also have one that captures the land uses within the particular area and the zones. So for instance, we have a 2D layout of a particular plan for a particular area. You can see the attribute information, the land use, the status, the plot coverages, etc. And then you can also have the 3D simulation of that particular development. So there's really so much that you can be able to do with geoinformation. But I think in the interest of time, allow me to stop there. Thank you very much.
Wow. Let us kindly give this lady in red as a senorita, and her senorita will be the one that we are using our fingers. Moja, mbili, tatu, nne, tano, sita, saba. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Evelyn, for that presentation. I think we have more insights on matters geoinformation system and its role in planning. So we will ask our questions later. For now, allow me introduce another heavyweight of a lady, our last presentation for this session before we go to plenary for the whole morning session. Her name is Dr. Bridget Mutuma. She's a lecturer, Kirinyaga University. She has an MSc in material science from South Korea. She has a PhD in chemistry. When I hear chemistry, yeah, I give her enough respect. From Wits University, South Africa. She has experience in nanomaterials, sensor technology, and energy storage. Some of you don't know what that means, but by the end of her presentation, we will also be following her very much. And she's affiliate